Hey buds, how's it going? I am MC, and with the 2026 Milan Olympics having started, the opening ceremonies are literally happening right now as I'm recording this. I wanted to draw something to illustrate my excitement about these winter games. I'm a huge sports fan, and I've always really loved the Winter Olympics, and so I thought, what better time than to use that as an excuse to draw the greatest hockey player of all time. So in this video, I'm drawing Captain Canada, Captain Clutch, Marie-Philippe Poulin. And I'm really excited about this one. This has been a picture that I've wanted to draw for a really long time now. And yeah, I'll give you a little sneak peek because I've already finished most of it. So I'm about to finish this drawing now, and once I do, I will be going downstairs to sit on my couch and watch the replay of the opening ceremonies. But I'll stop rambling now. I have a lot to say in the voiceover for this video, and yeah, go Canada go, and let's get into the drawing. So I'm quickly starting this voiceover with a note from editing me. I did finish editing this video during the Canada-Czechia game where Marie-Philippe Poulin very unfortunately got injured. Currently, don't know what her status is. I'm kind of hoping it was just precautionary to not send her out in a 5-1 game. But yeah, what a huge bummer right before this video goes out. Really hope our captain is okay and can continue on with this tournament. But yeah, now let's get into the voiceover I recorded earlier that didn't have this sad overtone to it. Yeah. So I might be calling this video something along the lines of drawing the greatest hockey player of all time, maybe in an attempt to rage bait some insecure men who are mad that women can actually be good at things. And if there's a little collateral damage to some American women's hockey fans, I'm okay with that too. And it might be a little bit of a clickbaity title, but it is actually something that I definitely believe is true. If you're an older Canadian, you might think that Hayley Wickenheiser is the best women's hockey player of all time. If you're an American, you might say Hilary Knight or someone like Cammy Granato. But I do truly think that the correct answer is Marie-Philippe Poulin. I've actually always kind of thought of the discussion around the rivalry of Poulin and Knight to be very similar to the debate around Crosby and Ovechkin. It kind of comes down to if you value an elite complete game player or an elite goal scoring player. You might say that goal scoring is the hardest thing in the game to do, so if you're the best at that, you're the best, period. And Poulin versus Knight, Crosby versus Ovechkin, complete game versus goal scoring, it's always the former for me personally. The 200-foot game and ability on both sides of the puck, the points production, the clutchness, the leadership, I think that's all what makes Poulin the best ever. And honestly, even just the way she looks on the ice, you can so easily pick her out of the 10 skaters on the ice just by the way she looks. She very simply just looks better than everybody else on most base levels. But anyway, this is a picture of Poulin that I have wanted to draw for a while now. In the last couple years, I've definitely searched for it and saved it a few times, thinking that I was finally going to start drawing it, but it always ended up being something that I couldn't or maybe just didn't make time for. And then recently, my girlfriend showed it to me and asked me if I could draw it. So with the Olympics right around the corner and now having started, it seemed like the perfect excuse to stop putting it off. I did the drawing on 9 by 12 inch Bristol paper, so the figure of Poulin is 8 3/4 inches tall, which is pretty big. We have some other women's hockey pictures and posters that we need to hang up, so I wanted to make sure that it would be big enough that if we do decide to hang it, it won't get lost next to the others. And for the first time in a long time, I used some blending stumps for this drawing. I haven't used them in a very long time, and if you watched my last video, I mentioned one of my goals this year is to develop a better art process. So I was really curious to bring them out again and see if there might be a benefit to using them as part of that. And in all honesty, I do think I've gotten a little bit lazy in recent years with certain things. So for an illustration like this, one that I wanted to make look very finished and polished, I definitely didn't want to be touching the paper as much as I have been. So the stumps stopped me from using my fingers as blenders, and I was happy with the result. I wanted to add as much detail as possible to this one, and I had forgotten how easy blending stumps make it to get into the finer areas of your drawing. It made it easier to fill in large shadow areas, and because they're softer than a pencil or an eraser, you don't have to worry as much about overworking the paper. And like I said about wanting to develop the more linear art process, I do think that these helped me take a step in the right direction. So I think that I'm going to start using these again, practicing with them a little bit more and seeing if I can improve on my technique with them and get results that I'm even more happy with. And overall, I just think this picture is really cool. I really like it and just wanted to make sure that I did it justice, which did cause me to put a little bit too much pressure on myself, and I stopped having fun with it about halfway through and had to take a break. I feel like I can't entirely blame that burnout on the drawing process though. I am such a massive hockey fan, and the amount that I let hockey dictate my mood in general is not very good. It's not very healthy. And I don't think that the Toronto Scepters or Toronto Maple Leafs had won a game from the time that I had started this drawing to the point that I had burnt out on it. I had just been having a miserable time watching hockey, and I just got to a rough spot in the drawing that I felt like I was struggling with, and I just got to the point where I think I was like, man, liking hockey is just hard in every way. I got a bit sucky and feeling like, well, my teams suck anyway. I don't even like hockey anymore, so why am I doing this? But like I said, I took a break, drew a little bit for fun. I reminded myself that drawing is supposed to be fun, came back, pulled myself together, and got it done. And I'm glad. Overall, I'm really pleased about how this illustration came out. The only part that's been really bothering me, and the reason I kind of had to take a breath on this one, is the hand and the beer can. You'll see in the video where I started rendering that part of the drawing and then I just gave up and skipped over it, finished Poulin's face and head, and then I went back to the hand. And I had to edit through a lot of dead footage where nothing was happening because I was just sitting and staring blankly at the drawing during that part. I don't know how I felt like I got the proportions of the whole figure pretty bang on, and then the hand and can are both pretty wrong. I think it's the numbers on the back of the jersey might be a little bit too tall because I'm not 100% happy with the name on the back of the jersey either. So I think maybe I was just needing more space for the top of the figure. But I guess they kind of look fine and they're passable as part of the whole drawing. But I'm not gonna lie, they kind of drive me nuts to the point where it's making me want to restart the drawing. I think I also might be a little bit mad because I was really excited about that part of the drawing. It is like the best part of the picture, and I'm just bummed that I didn't reach my expectations with it. But the first time my girlfriend looked at it, she did say that that was her favorite part of the drawing, so that did make me feel better about it, and I guess it's okay. But I hope that the slightly more difficult process of doing this illustration can be considered as some sort of ritual, because these are the exact vibes that I'm trying to manifest as this Olympic tournament gets started. All of the Captain Canada, Captain Clutch vibes, and this picture is the embodiment of that. And it's crazy to think that this photo is of the beginning of the Captain Canada, Captain Clutch career, and we didn't even know it yet when it had been taken. Marie-Philippe Poulin was 18 in this picture, and she had just scored both goals in a 2-0 game versus the US to secure an Olympic gold medal on home ice. Also, something that doesn't get talked about enough from that game is Shannon Zabados. She absolutely stood on her head for Team Canada in that game. But it's just so crazy that an 18-year-old Poulin showed us exactly who she was as soon as she stepped on the ice. After that game, she would go on to score the game-tying and the game-winning goal in the gold medal game at the 2014 Olympics in Sochi. She scored the overtime gold medal winner at the 2021 World Championships. She had 2 goals in the 2022 Olympic gold medal game in Beijing, one of which was the game-winning goal. And she scored the go-ahead goal in the 2024 World Championships gold medal game. Danielle Serdachny would have to score to win that one for Canada in overtime after the US tied it, but she was so close to doing it again. And honestly, I just don't have time to count how many clutch assists she probably has in those games, how many goals and points she probably has in losing efforts, how many game-winning goals and points she has in preliminary rounds, knockout stages, in just regular season games. A very recent example of that would be the Spinorama OT winner she scored against Minnesota a couple weeks ago. And in the most humble Poulin way, she scores that goal and immediately points to Abby Rock, who passed it to her, because she probably thought that the pass was the best part of the play. And it was a very good pass, to be fair. And if you're not Canadian or a hockey fan and don't know the lore behind this photo, it's one of the photos that leaked of the women's hockey team after they won the 2010 gold medal in Vancouver, and they brought the locker room celebration back out onto the ice surface. They had beers, cigars, champagne bottles. Some of them were wearing those horrible shutter shade glasses that had maple leafs on them. They were taking pictures with their Canon power shots. It was very 2010, but it became a little bit of a scandal when it got leaked. Like I said, Marie-Philippe Poulin was 18, and that was a bit frowned upon because the legal drinking age in most of Canada and British Columbia, specifically where this was, is 19. But honestly, I could not care less about that. She's from Quebec, where the drinking age is 18, and she was turning 19 in a month. So it all cancels out, in my opinion. There were people calling it unprofessional and unladylike. I think there was even a rumor about the team being investigated by the Olympic Committee or something like that, and getting the medals taken away potentially, which would be so ridiculous. Some of the players, Poulin included, had to make statements and apologize, and Hayley Wickenheiser did do a good job of pointing out the double standard, saying it wouldn't even have been a story if it was a men's team. Like, how many guys have been under 21 and won a Stanley Cup in the USA and then partied after? It's really not a big deal. But a spokesperson for the Canadian Olympic Committee said something along the lines about condoning celebrations but not irresponsibility, which, like, shut up, nerd. This was one of the coolest and most Canadian things ever. The photos that came out of it are just absolutely iconic. And honestly, I don't really have anything positive to say about Hockey Canada, but I did love their response to this. They said, quote, "The members of Team Canada apologize if their on-ice celebrations after fans had left the building have offended anybody," which is a classic Canadian response. 10 out of 10, very passive-aggressive, very much sorry not sorry, eh? And when I was searching for articles about this to refresh my memory on the situation, I found a quote from Brent Pope that I thought kind of summed it all up very perfectly. He said, quote, "They had a few cigars and some beers and champagne and basked in the glory of this Olympic moment once their duties and responsibilities had been completed." And I love that. So those are the vibes I'm looking for in Milan. Work hard and want it more, and you'll be celebrating at the end. And I have seen a little bit of criticism towards the Canadian women's team's roster, mainly about being older, how none of the NCAA girls made the team, and personally, in my own opinion, that kind of thing just gets a little nitpicky. With the elite talent of these ladies, when you're talking about switching out players, you're just talking about switching out a bottom six forward for another bottom six forward or a bottom pair defenseman for another. you know what I mean? The replacement players I see people suggesting online don't really move the needle enough for me to be like, for sure, that's a clear-cut snub, you know? And I haven't seen as many people questioning the US roster in the same way. I know me personally, I am thanking USA Hockey for not including players like Jessie Compher or Abby Rock. Those girls like playing against Canada a little bit too much, and I'm scared of them. Maybe I'm being a little hypocritical and nitpicky myself now, but there are honestly a few players on the USA's roster that I do personally think makes not including Rock or Compher clear-cut snubs. And maybe the stats don't 100% back up my opinion. Rock stats definitely do, but for something like this, I am primarily judging players based on the trauma they've given me, and the vision of Rock and Compher in USA jerseys terrifies me. So, good call, USA Hockey. Thank you very much. Love Canada. But anyway, this might completely be my bias talking, but the majority of this Team Canada team has been my team and our team for like the last 5 to 10 years. 16 years if you go back with this picture of Poulin. Before the PWHL, this was the team. And something I've always said about the Canadian women's hockey team is that it's like the Christmas magic that I never grew out of. Every time they step onto the ice, I feel like the little girl that's seeing hockey for the first time in 2002, or the one that started playing hockey after the 2006 Olympics. I even watch them now, and I'm quite a bit older than her, but I want to be Sarah Fillier when I grow up. And I just don't think that there's any player that you could bring up to make me think that there's not a single woman on this roster that doesn't still deserve her spot, and for the older players that they don't absolutely deserve their last shot at Olympic gold. The emotion they all had during their phone calls with Troy Ryan and Gina Kingsbury, finding out that they made the team, these ladies want it, and I think having an experienced locker room that's motivated by this being maybe their last chance to do it and go out golden gives them so much of a bigger advantage than they're getting credit for. And the video from the team bus of them lip syncing to This Is What Dreams Are Made Of was the absolute best. And Spooner's European chocolate reviews, I just love this team so much. There's nothing you can say to make me not love and want every single one of these ladies on this team. And I feel like I'm just having the Canada versus USA conversation because it's easy, but you also can't forget about Czechia. They were very, very good at the last World Championships, and you have to expect them to take another step, and I would not be surprised to see improvement from Sweden and Finland too. But women's hockey on the international level is getting more and more interesting every year, and it's so exciting to see. But yeah, I'm obviously talking a lot about hockey in this video because I'm drawing a hockey player, but just in general, I'm so excited for the Milan Winter Olympics. I can't wait to have the CBC on 24/7 for 2 weeks. I think the Winter Olympics are so extremely underrated. I will genuinely watch any event that's on. For the most part, they're all so fast-paced and exciting. Everybody's wearing like nothing for protection but a helmet and going like 140 kilometers an hour down a hill. But then you get the beautiful moments like the Scott Moyer and Tessa Virtue Moulin Rouge ice dance, which, if you're Canadian, let me know how many times you've searched that up in the last year to rewatch it. It's probably at least 3 times for me. And if you're not Canadian and haven't seen that, go watch it now and thank me later. It's the most beautiful and mesmerizing thing you'll ever see. You can't change my mind that MPP is the greatest hockey player of all time, and I'll say the same thing for Scott and Tessa. That's the greatest ice dance of all time. But it's also terrifying because they're skating around on knife shoes at a crazy speed and lifting and throwing and spinning each other all around. But yeah, anytime you hear "O Canada" at a medal presentation, just know that I'm sitting on my couch watching and probably crying. If I'm trying not to be such a silly pansy that cares way too much about sports, I'll just be tearing up. But it'll probably be crying. I'm really excited for the opening ceremonies too. It's always really cool to see the culture that the host city puts on display, and I always have a lot of fun just sitting and playing fashion police with what every nation walks in wearing. And I'll just keep going with this theme that I've started for myself now. Team Canada's 2002 Roots gear for Salt Lake City was the greatest Olympic look of all time. I actually have one of those messenger boy hats from those Olympics, unfortunately in a youth size, but I do have that somewhere, so I need to find it and put it out on a shelf because I wish I could still wear it. And I'm just being silly now, so I think that's it for this video. Again, manifesting the golden vibes of this picture for all of Team Canada. And if you want to share some of your favorite Olympic moments or greatest of all times with me in the comment section, that would be a lot of fun and I'd love to know. But thank you so much for watching. Take care, and you'll see me in the next one. Go Canada, go.